Last autumn, I found myself wandering through one of England's ancient woodlands, contemplating how these trees have witnessed the gradual disappearance of one of our most distinctive native creatures, the red squirrel. Once ubiquitous across Britain, these flame-coloured mammals have vanished from much of our landscape. Their decline represents more than the loss of a charming woodland resident. It illustrates how a seemingly minor intervention can devastate an ecosystem that maintained its balance for millennia. This isn't merely a tale of one species' struggle, but a compelling case study of wider environmental principles and what we choose to value in our natural heritage. To truly understand the red squirrel's plight, we must establish its profound historical context. As the last ice age retreated some 10,000 years ago, the red squirrel was already establishing itself as an integral part of this emerging ecosystem. These creatures preceded virtually every human development we associate with British history. They were here before Stonehenge, before Roman legions landed on our shores, before William established Norman rule. Remarkably, medieval records show these animals, now so preciously guarded, were once hunted extensively. Their fur was traded across Europe as a commodity, their abundance taken for granted. Royal wardrobes included garments lined with red squirrel fur. The question follows, how did such a thoroughly established native species find itself so perilously reduced? Let's examine the Victorian era, when a seemingly innocuous decision set in motion an ecological transformation that continues today. The Victorian period brought with it a fascination with natural collection and classification. The affluent classes developed an appetite for exotic specimens to adorn their estates and gardens. Around the 1870s, certain landed gentry made what seemed a reasonable addition to their estates, the North American grey squirrel. These landowners introduced this foreign species purely for aesthetic and novelty value, without any ecological understanding of potential consequences. Grey squirrels aren't inherently aggressive toward their red counterparts. Rather, they outcompete them through several advantages. They're larger, can digest acorns more efficiently, reproduce more prolifically, and adapt more readily to varied habitats. But the decisive factor proved to be something invisible, the squirrel pox virus. Grey squirrels carry this pathogen asymptomatically, while it proves devastatingly fatal to red squirrels. The mortality rate approaches 100% in infected populations, with death occurring within weeks. A decision made by Victorian landowners, with no malice or foresight, fundamentally altered Britain's woodland ecology, illustrating how our interventions in natural systems can trigger cascades of unforeseen consequences. The present situation presents some stark figures. From a historical population of approximately 3.5 million red squirrels across Britain, we now have perhaps 120,000, 160,000 remaining. They persist primarily in Scotland, isolated pockets of the Lake District, and islands like Anglesey, where geography provides a natural barrier against grey squirrel incursion. Meanwhile, an estimated 2.7 million grey squirrels now dominate the British landscape, particularly across England and Wales, areas where red squirrels were once the sole species. There's something profoundly disconcerting about an absence you can sense but haven't personally witnessed. These forests feel subtly incomplete, though most visitors would never recognize what's missing. Grey squirrels don't merely compete for habitat, they fundamentally alter resource availability. Their superior foraging efficiency often leaves red squirrels without adequate winter food stores. And of course, the squirrel pox virus continues its silent spread wherever grey populations establish themselves. Encouragingly, conservation efforts have gained momentum. In certain regions, dedicated initiatives demonstrate that targeted intervention can indeed preserve and even restore red squirrel populations, suggesting the decline isn't necessarily irreversible. This raises an intriguing question. Why allocate resources to saving one mammal species when another fulfills broadly similar ecological functions? What makes the red squirrel worth such concentrated effort? Conservation work involves methodical monitoring of woodland areas, establishing feeding stations that ingeniously allow access to red squirrels while excluding greys, and careful documentation of population patterns, citizen science at its most dedicated. The ecological significance of red squirrels extends beyond sentiment. They're remarkably effective seed dispersers, particularly for native trees like oak and hazel. Their forgotten seed caches effectively plant thousands of trees annually, contributing significantly to woodland regeneration. Grey squirrels, conversely, strip bark from young broadleaf trees, causing extensive damage to forestry interests, estimated in the millions of pounds annually. This behavior can kill young trees before maturity, affecting woodland composition. This isn't moral failing by the greys, they're simply following their natural behaviors in a new environment. Each conservation success represents more than saving an individual species. It's about maintaining ecological relationships that have evolved over thousands of years, preserving a system in balance rather than accepting fundamental alteration through human intervention. This work transcends simple species preservation. There's something deeper at play, something connected to our sense of place, continuity, and responsibility. My grandfather often reminisced about red squirrels in his Devonshire childhood. They were such a common feature of daily life that their presence was barely remarkable. When I mentioned this video essay, his response was quietly poignant. I do rather miss seeing them, taken for granted then of course. His words resonated with me, highlighting how my own experience differs fundamentally from his. I've seen perhaps a couple of red squirrels in my lifetime, each sighting memorable precisely because of its rarity. For my children, they might become something known only through conservation parks or documentaries. I finally observed a red squirrel in Northumberland last spring. The experience was oddly affecting, this small russet animal with its distinctive ear tufts moving with remarkable agility through the canopy. What struck me was the profound sense that I was seeing something authentically British, a creature that evolved in these precise conditions, that belongs here in a way that transcends simple categorization. This narrative extends beyond squirrels alone. It parallels other subtle shifts in British culture and landscape. The declining number of independent shops on high streets, the standardization of regional accents, the fading of traditional crafts. Individually, these changes might seem insignificant. Collectively, they transform our experience of place and identity. When we advocate for red squirrel conservation, we're making a nuanced statement about value. We're suggesting that certain relationships, certain historical continuities, merit preservation even when more convenient alternatives exist. The red squirrel represents a connection to Britain's past that, once severed, cannot be authentically restored. The red squirrel's story offers a perfect microcosm of broader environmental and cultural questions. How do we balance change and preservation? What constitutes natural in landscapes shaped by human influence for millennia? What responsibilities do we bear for ecological disruptions initiated by previous generations? One might reasonably argue, they're merely squirrels. Does their coloration truly matter? But this perspective misses something crucial. Red squirrels established themselves here through natural processes over thousands of years. Their near elimination in a century and a half represents not evolutionary competition, but human-mediated displacement, a fundamentally different process with different ethical implications. Grey squirrels cannot be considered antagonists in this narrative. They're simply organisms succeeding in an environment where they've been introduced. If there's culpability, it lies with Victorian landowners who made decisions without ecological understanding, and perhaps with our own generation if we recognize the situation but deem it unworthy of remedy. John Muir observed that, when we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. The red squirrel is inextricably connected to our woodlands, our history, our understanding of Britain's natural character. Its loss would represent not merely one fewer species, but the severing of a relationship that has defined these landscapes for thousands of years. What aspects of our natural heritage merit active preservation? Which elements of Britain's distinctive character should we strive to maintain? And what would we ultimately lose if we simply acquiesce to whatever changes occur without evaluation or intervention? As we conclude this video essay, it's worth emphasizing that the red squirrel's future remains unwritten. Despite significant challenges, there's still ample opportunity to ensure these remarkable creatures retain their place in Britain's ecological tapestry. Perhaps most importantly, we can cultivate informed awareness. By understanding the situation and recognizing its significance, we acknowledge that certain aspects of our natural heritage warrant preservation, even when that requires deliberate intervention. Consider the prospect of showing a red squirrel to future generations, explaining that these animals nearly disappeared from Britain, but were saved through conscious human effort. That narrative contains something rather powerful, a demonstration that we need not passively accept every environmental change, that we can make deliberate choices about the natural world we inhabit. The red squirrel has witnessed ice ages, the rise and fall of empires, and the entire span of Britain's recorded history. It would be rather unfortunate if its story ended during our brief stewardship of these islands. I'm interested in your perspective. Do you believe the red squirrel merits the conservation efforts currently dedicated to it? Have you encountered one in the wild? Your thoughts contribute to our collective understanding of this fascinating ecological story. Thank you for joining me in this exploration. Until next time.
Search the world, would I be happier than now? What if I get hurt? What if we don't work it out? It's not the way you look into my eyes. It's not the way you touch my hand and smile. I love you 'cause I want to. 'Cause I want to. Sometimes you make me mad, and then I make you sad with my words. You love my honesty, I hate your OCD, but we work it out. It's not the way you hold me in your arms. It's not your laugh or charismatic charm. I love you. I love you 'cause I want to. 'Cause I want to. 'Cause I want you 'cause I want to.